What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2020 Hyundai Veloster Turbo Ultimate. So the Ultimate is the top trim of the Veloster Turbo, and it comes only with an automatic transmission, and it's the only version that gets leather seats and a couple other features, like this two-tone roof you see on the outside, which I think is a very cool touch here. That's all stuff only on the Ultimate. But I'll go through some of the other differences between this and the lower versions in a minute. But overall, I think that it's a pretty cool interior. You know, you have this two-tone thing going on with this side being, you know, whitish tan and this side being black, and I think it actually works. It's definitely out of the ordinary, but I don't think that it looks bizarre or anything.
Yeah, I actually didn't notice it until now, so if you don't care, you probably won't notice.
Yeah, and so I think that shows just how well they integrated it in, that it doesn't jump out at you like, hey, look, this is trying to be cool. It's just like one of those things you're like, hey, yeah, that's actually two different sides or two different colors. It's kind of cool. And I also like the little bits of color you have here. You know, this red or orange striping you have around the you know, climate controls, the steering wheel and stuff, and even on the seats. I think it's a cool
I love
touch.
that it's on the seats.
Yeah, and you even have the turbo kind of embossed there on the seats as well. And speaking of these seats, they're nice and comfortable. You know, they have a decent amount of bolstering. It's not as aggressive as like the N version, but chances are if you're not buying the N version, then you probably don't want super aggressive seats anyway. So these seats are you know, still just really comfortable, but still supportive. They're also heated seats here in the Ultimate and in the regular turbo version. They both get heated. It's just the regular turbo, they're cloth heated seats, but so that's on both of those.
Yeah, they're really nice for what they are, for sure.
Yeah, it would be nice to have cooling, because a lot of other Hyundais and Kias in this price point do give you cooled seats, like the Elantra GT, which will now be the Elantra N line for the new version. I believe that will have the heated and cooled seats. And like the Kia Forte GT we just reviewed a couple months ago, that has, you know, for $24,500 you have heated and cooled seats, and that's also sporty, same engine, same power, all that kind of stuff. By the way, for those curious, this one as tested is just over $29,000. It's like $29,210. So it's a little pricier, and you know, it's a funkier design, and so I guess that's part of the reason why, you know, it's a little bit of a sportier setup than what you get with like a Forte GT or something like that, or the Elantra GT. But anyway, moving on here to the steering wheel in the Veloster Turbo. It's a very cool wheel. Again, I love the stripe here, so it makes it a little more unique than your average run-of-the-mill Hyundai wheel. Has a great 9-3 grip, nice little 10-2 notches. You have paddle shifters here on the back of the wheel, just a few buttons here on the front, but you know, very nice and easy to use, and a good looking wheel. The gauges are also really nice here in the Veloster. I really love these gauges because you can see the speedometer. It goes up with increments of 10 until you get up to 40, and then it goes up with increments of 20 there, and I just think that's kind of a cool touch. And you know, it would be cool to have like a boost gauge or something like that for the gauges there. It only gives you transmission temperature as far as temps go, but otherwise, you know, just your basic trip information, your safety stuff, all that kind of stuff is displayed there. Not too feature packed or anything, but good enough. And this Ultimate, one of the other unique things you get with the Ultimate is this heads-up display, and it is nice to have. It'll show you your speed, the speed limit, any safety stuff, as well as also showing you whenever you're in sport mode, your tack up there, which is a cool touch. And I guess it's nice to have. I'm still not a big fan of these heads-up displays with this little plexiglass display there, instead of just, you know, having it actually projected onto the windshield like some of the more expensive vehicles and their heads-up displays. This is a little cheaper feeling, and I just don't like it because sometimes if you're looking down at like just the front of the car, like you're looking down at the road, you know, it can kind of feel like you're wearing a pair of glasses or something on the edge of your nose with the way that's kind of set up there. So I don't love that, but it is a nice feature to have, and again, that's only on the Ultimate. And if you don't like it, you can just hit a button here and it'll retract and stay down, and then you don't have to worry about it if that's not your cup of tea. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, though, you have right up top this 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system that is also including navigation here in the Ultimate trim. The lower trims, it's just going to have no navigation, but you still do have standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on all Velosters, which means that, you know, you plug your phone in, you have your maps there, and, you know, it's a very easy workaround. And it's a good system. It also has an Infinity, I believe it's an 8-speaker system here, and it sounds pretty good. You know, I mean, it's not going to knock your socks off and be be amazing. And as far as stuff in this class goes, I think like a Mazda 3, their Bose system is really cool and really good. But this Infiniti system sounds pretty good.
It is really nice with the volume and tune knob though. Cuts out any kind of confusion, and you can do everything that you want, and it's really nice to have a touch screen, but also these extra buttons so that you can do everything easily and know where everything is.
Yeah, they really do such a good job with the Hyundai system of not overcomplicating things. It's nice and simple, just a few menus, and I think a lot of high-end companies could learn from them because it has everything that everyone uses. It's not like you're missing any features really, and it's just very simple. And so bravo Hyundai, I'm so glad they continue with this great screen. Coming down here, you have your climate controls, which are also just a few buttons and a few knobs. Very simple, and it actually feels pretty high quality too. You know, there are some cheap plastics in this interior. I mean, you're definitely paying for the performance and the sportiness. This isn't a luxury vehicle by any means, but you know, I think that a lot of the stuff you're touching and everything feels decently nice, you know, and so no big issues there. But it is, you know, not going to feel as high-end as some other vehicles that are almost $30,000. But again, you're buying this for the sporty nature, not for the interior. Coming down, you have your power outlet here, as well as 2 USB jacks and an auxiliary jack. And beneath that, you'll see your Qi wireless charging pad, which is another thing you get here on the Ultimate and on the regular turbo version of the Veloster here. Those both give you that Qi wireless charging pad. Also the premium, if you're going for the non-turbo Veloster, that also gives you that. And it's a good space. It's rubberized, so it holds in place well, and it's nice to have the charging capability as well.
But one thing is that for the passenger, it's a little bit hard to get to because there is this pillar in the way of the wireless charging pad. So it's still easy to get to, but it's still kind of in the way a little bit because they do have the shifter right here. So if you're grabbing anything, it's way easier for the driver to grab something than it would be for the passenger.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they were probably trying to accentuate this whole like cockpit thing by having this division here, but it doesn't really serve a purpose. I think if they would have had this, you know, match the other side, it probably would have been just fine. But I do like on the driver's side here how you don't have a pillar coming out, and so that means that even though this isn't padded, my knee, in my position at least, does not come in contact with that even whenever I have like cruise control on and my legs just lay into the side. So that means that you're never going to have an uncomfortable knee like you would with some others where you have to be constantly resting it on hard plastic. So that's a nice little touch.
If you are taller though and your seat is all the way back, then there might be some chance that you'll hit the heated seat with your knee.
Yeah, the button, if you are having your seat way far back, it could definitely kind of bump into that. But it's just a funny little thing, just the way that's placed there. But I don't think it'll be too big of an issue, but just a funny thing to note there. Other things, though, as far as other storage spaces here, you have nice large pockets here in the doors with a bottle holder. There's also 2 cup holders here, which are a good size. And you have the center armrest, which has this rubbery material, but it is fairly soft. It's not super plush or anything, but at least there's some padding to it. It's not just hard plastic. And you open that up, and then you have a little bin that's you know, not super big or anything. It does have this little blockage here for some reason, but otherwise, you know, I can still fit my sunglasses case, things like that in there, no problem. And so good to have that.
The door handles, there is a little pocket in there, and that's really nice and not in a lot of cars. It just kind of depends. But it's nice that there's not a throughway and you could just throw your phone in there. That's a really nice little space for that. Backseat space in the Veloster Turbo is really nice, and I was really surprised because I did spend a lot of time in the back seat when we had a couple of friends, and I was really surprised with how much space that there was, and I didn't feel crammed even though there's only 3 doors. I'm just very surprised at how much room that there was.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of maximizing all this space. So, I mean, yes, you know, if you want to have someone sit behind the driver, they do have to kind of either slide across the seat here, or they can come through like a 2-door coupe style. You know, this seat does flip forward and they can slide through that way. But yeah, I mean, I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. I have about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of legroom to spare back there. I also do have a couple inches of headroom as well. So, you know, although this does kind of have a slope to that rear, you know, roof line there, it, you know, still works pretty well. And honestly, even whenever I was driving, at one point I had a buddy who's 6'1" in the back, and he was actually able to fit without, you know, having his neck in an uncomfortable angle or something. He was able to sit up normally and fit back there. And so, Yeah, it's impressive. You also do have 2 cup holders back there and another little bin built there in the middle. And of course, it is only a 4-seater vehicle. This, there is no middle seat there, but you wouldn't have room for one anyway. So I think that's cool how they kind of put the cup holders in the middle instead.
Yeah, it's really nice that they took advantage of that, because there's so many cars that don't have enough space for a 3rd seat, and it's so nice that they were able to put those little compartments back there, because even with drinks or whatever, it's really nice to be able to have that as a backseat passenger.
Yeah, and not have to fold down a center armrest or something like that. They did a really good job with that. Trunk space in the Veloster is also surprisingly roomy. So, the real nice thing about it is that it's pretty deep. It's deeper than I'd say most hatchbacks. It's not like it's incredibly deep or anything, but it is a little bit deeper so that you can fit some larger items in there. And because, the hatch is still a pretty square area there, it's not like you can't really stack things. You have a decent amount of stacking ability, and it's a pretty wide space, not super long or anything, but again, I think you could easily fit a couple of suitcases in there still, no problem. And there isn't anything under the floor there, just your spare tire. But I think, again, for a vehicle of this size, it's going to have a bigger trunk than you're probably expecting. But yes, that's it as far as all our thoughts here on the Veloster Turbo Ultimate. Overall, I think it's a very cool car, and I'm so glad that Hyundai bothers to make this, because they have all the segments covered with having the Elantra, and then you have the Sonata and all that kind of stuff. There's no need for this car, but they do it anyway, and they have an enthusiast thing and something just fun and out of the ordinary. It's the only 3-door car on the market like this is, and I just commend them for being bold and taking a chance with this. And I see a decent amount of these driving around as well, and I hope that people continue to buy these, because I think they're a very cool little vehicle for those who want to stand out and be a little more different than every other ho-hum sedan on the road, and SUVs especially. So I think the Veloster is really cool.
Yeah, me too. It is really nice to have a coupe with an extra door that you can easily slide in and out of and still have that cool look of your coupe.
Yeah, it's kind of the best of both worlds, I think, in a way. So it's a very cool idea, and I'm glad they did it. So anyway, let us know your thoughts on the Veloster interior here in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.